Beltone Hearing Air Center presents The Drive.
Ready?
The Drive.
Elmore deep, left side three is good! From 30 feet, John Elmore!
The Drive with Paul Swann.
Welcome into the Friday, October 12th edition, presented by Beltone Hearing Air Center. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. We've got baseball action to talk about tonight. We'll get into that a little bit later on. It's the Dodgers and Milwaukee taking on each other tonight. Game 1 of the NLCS, Clayton Kershaw going up against Gio Gonzalez. Baseball action, of course, not the only thing to get into. We've got Thundering Herd tomorrow. Marshall taking on Old Dominion. Must-win game. Yeah, I hate using that terminology, but still, it is the truth. Must-win game for the Thundering Herd. If Marshall wants an East Division crown, they've got to win out and hope some things happen, including an FIU victory over Middle Tennessee State. It's a busy Conference USA Saturday, and of course Friday night. We've got some big ones in the area. We're going to hear a little bit later on from Jason Toy. He's going to tell us about Woodrow Wilson taking on number 13, Cabell Midland. Also, you've got third-ranked Huntington taking on fifth-ranked Capital. And that game you can listen to right here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Spring Valley. Now, Spring Valley's got St. Albans. St. Albans is 1-5. I don't know what you can say about St. Albans, but those kids are going to try. They're out there to play. They're 1-5, and they still are fielding a team. So guess what? We're going to talk about St. Albans and Spring Valley like it's a big deal because those kids at St. Albans are definitely giving it their all. But Spring Valley's really good right now. 7-0. They are looking sharp. Grayson Malashevich for Spring Valley. I don't know what you can say about him that we haven't already said, so I'm going to leave all that up to Matt Perry when he joins us in a few minutes to talk about that game. Spring Valley last week beating Riverside 42-41. So, I'm sorry. They beat them a lot more than that. It was a 42-21, I believe. So, big game for Spring Valley coming up here in a couple of weeks. But they've got to get past St. Albans first, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. And then also we'll talk about Huntington High, Cabell Midland. We'll take your phone calls, get you set for the weekend. Of course, Thundering Herd this weekend, taking on Old Dominion. Marshall leads the series 3-1. Marshall victorious last season in Huntington, 35-3. Now they've got to go on the road. A much improved Old Dominion squad, but defensively they're giving up 525 yards. They give up almost 300 yards passing, and they give up over 200 yards running. Offensively, they're putting up over 400. Now the Thundering Herd offensively, 383.4 yards. They're doing okay. They're getting more on the air than they are on the ground. Defensively, 375.4 yards is what the Herd gives up. Where's that coming from? Well, almost 275 yards in the air. I'm rounding up a little bit. On the ground, a little over 100. That's it. They give up 103 yards on average. They give up 272.4 yards passing on average. So, if you're Marshall, where are you looking at? Well, you're going to stop the run, and you're going to hope that you don't get passed on all day long and that you can create a little bit more of headache for Blake LaRussa. This kid right now is sitting pretty. 1,318 yards, 9 touchdowns. Kid's doing good. And then you got Alex Thompson comes in and 173 yards, 2 touchdowns right now. He comes in, gets his first FBS start, hasn't played since September 9th, 2017. And, yeah, I think there was some rust there. So we'll break all of that down. We've got a lot to get into with the Thundering Herd. We're going to do more of that on Saturday. We're going to be live at Roosters for Beltone Hearing Air Center college football today. As the Thundering Herd will get underway Later on in the afternoon, hey, what about that? The Thundering Herd playing some afternoon football. That's right, 3:30 p.m. Several games will already be underway in Conference USA with a few to follow. We'll already know a little bit about UAB at Rice. I'm taking UAB there. Rice could cause some fits for UAB, but UAB's keeping lockdown right now on the West. Southern Miss at North Texas. North Texas is 5-1, but they're 1-1 in the league. Southern Miss, they're 2-2, but they are 1-0 in league. I like Southern Miss's chances here. WKU's taking on Charlotte. That's coming up at 3:30 tomorrow. WKU needs a win in Conference USA. They need a win, period. Then you've got a Louisiana Tech UTSA matchup where UTSA is trying to stay on top with UAB. Louisiana Tech's one game back. So Louisiana Tech needs this one for sure. UTSA, UAB. Hey, I told you, UAB is going to be good. UTSA, we'll see. I'm not going to give them a clear shot for the West Crown just yet. But I think that's an improved team. Now, Middle and FIU, big game. 7 o'clock is going to be the Tech and UTSA game. 7:30 is going to be the Middle Tennessee FIU game. That game's going to be on BN, so I don't know where we'll be watching it. Worst television deal ever. BN not available where you can watch TV. And you'll laugh about the Facebook game. At least you can watch the Facebook game. You can't watch the BN game. Marshall, by the way, on Stadium. That's almost like Facebook. You can watch that on Stadium affiliates across the country. I'll tell you what, though, the app was pretty decent. I'm not saying it's the best experience ever, but the app was pretty decent. I was able to get it going on my Fire Stick at home, watched a little bit of the game between Old Dominion last week and FAU. It's okay. It's not the greatest experience, but it's okay also. Here's another one. If you have the Pluto TV app, you can watch Stadium. I haven't fired up the Pluto TV app in a long while, but you can get Stadium there. Again, this option's for you. Not the best television package in the world, but still better than being on BN. And so there you have it, the Thundering Herd at least being televised somewhere, where WKU and Charlotte, Louisiana Tech and UTSA, and UAB and Rice, all on ESPN Plus with Southern Miss at North Texas on ESPN 3. What's the difference? Just to remind you, ESPN 3 is streaming, but it is free, whereas ESPN Plus is pay. And let me qualify that ESPN 3 statement where it's free. If you have ESPN. If you have ESPN on your cable or satellite package, then you should be able to get ESPN 3. ESPN Plus, $4.99 a month. And the only reason I know it's $4.99 a month because I'm about ready to pull the trigger. It's not for college football. I get a lot of that on Saturdays. I'm good. It's not for any of their other sports. It's for hockey. They've got hockey on ESPN Plus. And for $4.99 a month, I'm dropping some cash down for that. It's either that or $25 a month for the streaming package for NHL, which is better than the DirecTV option. Because if I want to get it on DirecTV, I got to pay like $50 a month for 4 months to get the entire package. NHL TV, if I want to go that route, $25 a month. I can cancel anytime. It's month by month. They do offer a little discount if I want to get the full season. If I want to go with just one team, it's a little over $100. I don't know why more leagues are not doing things like this. I'm looking at you, NFL. I'm looking at you. I'd drop $100 or something like that to see the Bengals because the Bengals have to share the market with the Browns. You wanted to watch the Bengals last weekend, you're out of luck because the Browns were playing. And that's what the networks were showing, at least in our region. It's a good game. Don't get me wrong. You get the Bengals and Steelers this weekend, and then they flex the Bengals game. So, again, I'm good. I'm not going to drop these silly $300, $400 that DirecTV wants on the Sunday ticket package. It's ridiculous. But we digress because we're going to take our first break, come back. We're going to hear from Matt Perry. He's going to tell us about Spring Valley and St. Albans. Later on, we're going to hear from Woody Woodrum. We'll talk to Jason Toy, and we'll talk to you. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Now, back to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
St. Albans, the next opponent for top-ranked Spring Valley, a game you can hear tonight on our sister station, 92.7 and 98.5 The Planet. Last week, Spring Valley beats Riverside 42-21. Joining us on the program now to tell us more about that game and look ahead to tonight's contest, Matt Perry. And I guess all I have to say is Grayson Malashevich, Spring Valley wins. Is that basically the gist of everything so far for this season?
Oh, listen, that kid is amazing. Let's listen to some stats real fast. I was looking at the stat sheet as I was waiting. All right, so he has played wide receiver, running back, and quarterback on offense. At quarterback, he has 2 touchdown passes. At rushing the ball, he has 4 touchdown rushes, and he has caught 7 touchdowns. So quick Wayne County math there real fast, 7 and 4, 14 total touchdowns. And so he does it all in all phases. I mean, and he had a punt return for a touchdown last week, his first one of the year, and it was just really it was the Grayson Malashevich show.
What's the key tonight here? St. Albans comes in here 1-5, and I know you look at that and you think, okay, this game's going to be over before the bands hit the field. But still at 1-5, these kids are coming out playing, so you got to take them seriously. And so what do you have to do if you're Spring Valley to not overlook 1-5 St. Albans?
Do exactly what they did to Riverside last week. They scored on the first time they touched the ball, as I said, with Malashevich taking the first punt of the game to the house. They led 42-0 at half and then coasted. So when you have a team that, you are number one in the state, Spring Valley has the target on their back. Everybody wants to knock off the big guy, so you end all questions as soon as possible. You control the ground. Spring Valley renowned for that ground attack, and you just take care of business. You have to talk these kids up. They have a lot of good senior leaders, but these younger kids, you have to tell them, listen, it doesn't matter who we're playing. You're number one in the state. Everybody wants to knock you down. You've got to take care of business. And so Coach Dingus and the entire coaching staff do a great job every week of, the old coach's cliche, the one game at a time, but they do a good job with that. And I think we'll see Spring Valley jump on them early and often.
How important is this game? You're going into a situation where if you don't do well here, then you've got to sit on that for a couple of weeks. But if you do well here, you get the bye, you feel good about yourself going into probably the last 2 games, which might be a couple of roadblocks for Spring Valley.
Oh, it's really important that you take care of business this week. And, like I said, leave no doubt. Go into the bye week, hopefully get a little rested, get some of the nicks and, some of the banged up legs and, whatever little injuries taken care of because, Spring Valley, we're heading up to the home of the Mothman in 2 weeks. And so that's going to be a great game, a very good Double-A team, the Big Blacks up at Point Pleasant. And then, as we talked about, man, I can't believe it's been this long, but over 6 weeks ago, roughly, we talked about if Spring Valley and Huntington could both take care of business. Well, obviously we know Huntington's got the big one tonight, but can you imagine that last game of the year if they're both undefeated?
I can. You can. The kids can't because they've got to look ahead to nobody and focus on St. Albans tonight. That's a danger, though. You're looking the rest of your schedule, and these kids are keeping an eye on each other. A lot of them know each other, so that's just natural. You've got kids. Still, you can't focus on that only because you've got a St. Albans team. These kids are young, but still they're trying to play they're playing for pride right now. 1-5. They're trying to just define themselves, play for pride. Some of these kids never play football again. The ones that will are trying to get it set for next year. So I think that's the thing here is, I want to talk about Huntington High Spring Valley, but You can't right now, just because.
You can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
Huntington's got to focus on Capital tonight, and Capital's number 5 in the state, and well-deserved. They're 5-1, and Capital's a tough team. You know quite well how tough that team is.
That game, we're still talking about the Spring Valley Capital game. It was, it was a fantastic atmosphere, and Spring Valley, being the home of the, 927, we were all about the Timberwolves coming away with that victory. But it was just such a big game atmosphere up at Laidley Field or University of Charleston Stadium, whatever they want to call it nowadays. But it was so cool just being a part of that game because it was so full of tension. And, every play meant something. And now, as you said, that's over, though. And so Spring Valley has to take care of business. And, you sound like cliche, like I said, but they really can't overlook anybody because they are the big dog. And they have to take care of St. Albans tonight. And then you can rest. Then you can worry about Point Pleasant. And as you said, Woody's going to talk to you later in the show. Man, Huntington High, you talk about a big game tonight and playoff implications. That's the big fun part right now, refreshing the Metro News scoreboard all night is every game matters in this top 16.
St. Albans tonight taking on Spring Valley. St. Albans 1-5. Spring Valley top ranked and number 1 for a reason with that 7-0 mark. And another thing is you want to make sure you are in a situation where you've got home field throughout the playoffs. That's important for Spring Valley right now. Huntington High, in the back of their mind, I'm sure looking at that as well. It's not because you're trying to avoid Martinsburg. It's because you're trying to stay home and get your way into the championship game, and it's no easier path than playing all your games at home.
Exactly, and Spring Valley has one of the most important home field advantages in this portion of West Virginia. I'm not very familiar with most of the Eastern Panhandle teams, but Spring Valley is one of the few all-grass fields, and late in the season, it's going to be muddy. No matter what the weather is like, this field retains water. It's going to be muddy, and that plays into their hands. And so Spring Valley will want to have that ground and pound type of playoff game, and if they can have every game played on the natural surface here at the Wolves' Den, it's just another tick in the box on their side of the advantage. If they have to go on the road, you lose that. You are going to play on most likely field turf. That's where most of the stadiums are at nowadays. And you lose that advantage of playing on the natural grass.
Matt Perry's joining us tonight on 92.7 and 98.5 The Planet. It's going to be number 1 Spring Valley playing host to St. Albans at 1-5. A young St. Albans squad, a veteran Spring Valley squad. This game gets out of hand. The only good thing here is you're going to probably see a lot of young players for Spring Valley get some playing time tonight, so that's probably the only good thing about this if it gets out of hand.
Yeah, that for sure. And there's a lot of kids that are looking to get in the end zone or get their first playing time. Last week against Riverside, the entire freshman team played the second half. I mean, the entire freshman team. So I'm sure that was a big thrill for those kids playing under the Friday night lights. And I'm not trying to be negative towards St. Albans, but I expect more of the same. I've got I've had to study the roster a little bit extra the last 2 weeks.
So the Matt Perry pick'em of 1, he has picked Spring Valley over St. Albans tonight.
Yes, I have. Now, listen, I was listening to your last segment. You have to get ESPN Plus.
I don't have to.
I mean, you don't have to, but you're a Rangers fan and you're doing, you want to watch the NHL. There are so many NHL games on there. That's not my cup of tea. I pay for the ESPN Plus for rugby. I watch the Australian rugby. I watch the Scottish rugby. They have it all streaming. I can watch it on demand. It's well worth the $5.
So I can watch the New Zealand All Blacks.
Oh yeah, you can watch the All Blacks. You can watch the Wallabies. My personal rooting interest, the Aussies, and you can watch it all, man. It's really cool.
Sevens? Do I get to watch Sevens?
Yeah. Well, off the top of my head, I don't know 100% because it's not Sevens season right now. But that's where America is actually really good. If you follow anything with rugby, we're really good in sevens. Not so much in 15s, but. So
how shocked are you that I can actually talk a little bit about rugby? Not much, but a little bit.
Hey, listen, anybody that could talk a little rugby with me, I love. I love the sport. I played it after when I was out of Marshall. I didn't play at Marshall. We played at a men's club up in Charleston. Had a good time with it for a couple of years before we folded. So, It's one of those sports that you play and you fall in love with.
There's no rules to it, but it's still fun to watch.
Well, you'd be surprised, sir.
There's no rule. It's like, okay, here, I'm going to hand this ball off to you. All right, we've stopped you, so I'm going to place it on the ground, and we're going to reset. Yeah, okay.
Hey, it's the perfect for all of everybody listening. If you're a disgruntled right guard, kids, when you get to Marshall, you need to go out and try out for the rugby team because everybody carries the ball. Anybody could score. It's so fun. Guys flying all over the field. It's a real hoot, man.
All right, I'm not a hater on rugby. I actually like the rugby, so I'm just waiting for Marshall to officially sponsor it. Never going to happen, but waiting for the Herd to officially sponsor it, so Marshall can make their rugby run.
That would be a treat, but not going to happen.
Where would they play that? They'd have to play that at Jones C. Edwards, right?
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Not going to happen.
But not going to happen. No.
I would say they could play it over on the pitch over at the soccer stadium, but no, that's not going to happen either.
That's not going to happen. Last time when I was involved, I don't know how many years ago it was. Heck, it's been a long time. We played Marshall's alumni, and we played in a field behind the Big Bear across from the Cabell County Board of Education. So quite a step down from the last two pitches that you mentioned.
Hey, the mighty Highlanders once practiced on that field years ago.
I don't doubt it. And you know what? It did its job. It was flat, and it had goalposts, so we were happy.
Of course, I'm not a fan of the old school mighty Highlanders.
I think I've caught that on through years of listening to you.
Yeah, no, Pony Express all the way, and to this day, I just want to point out that the team that won the flying helmet last bore the logo of the Pony Express.
Hey, listen, I have to bust that out every once in a while. Here in Spring Valley country, I have to remind people, who had all them state titles, and I just have to show them the green and white every once in a while and tell them how the Wonders used to roll.
I understand completely. Our image of self-worth determined based on the glories of past years in high school. I get it. Completely get it. I just like rubbing in the fact that the Ponies always would beat the Highlanders. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, I married a girl from Benson, and so we'll just randomly have arguments, and I'm like, y'all suck at football. I'll just randomly say it, and, man, she gets mad. Oh, my gosh.
All right, there you go. Marital tips here with Paul and Matt. Matt Perry, our guest, tonight on 92.7, 98.5 The Planet. St. Albans taking on Spring Valley. We gotta go. We've got more serious stuff to do on this show. I don't know when, but it's coming eventually. I think there's a segment.
Eventually, right?
I think no, there's no seriousness. That's not going to be serious either. You know better.
It was great talking to you tonight, man.
We'll talk soon. Matt Perry. That's Matt Perry, everyone. He is calling the game tonight, St. Albans, Spring Valley. When we come back from break, I do believe we've got Woody Woodrum. We have Woody Woodrum, so that means we'll have a preview of number 3 Huntington taking on number 5 Capital. Coming up, it's The Drive, presented by Beltone Hearing Air Center on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann, presented by Beltone Hearing Air Center on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
It's Friday, high school football across the tri-state. And coming up tonight, number 3 Huntington will face off against number 5 Capital. We'll have that game for you right here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Guess what? Woody Woodrum's with us on the program now, and this is going to be a fun one. Probably the best game in the state. I know Metro News has made it their game of the week. I'm sure several other outlets have pretty much tabbed this one as the game to watch tonight in the state. No pressure, just staying undefeated and trying to keep pace with the leaders as far as home field. Nothing to play for.
No, nothing big at all, Paul. That's the thing about tonight is this is a huge game for both of these teams. The Capital team took a loss in their last game to undefeated Spring Valley, who's number 1, 21-13 in that game. Although it sounds closer than I think it was. Capital led 7-6. Spring Valley scored just before the half, but got an extra point blocked. But then Spring Valley did what Spring Valley does. They got behind their big line, just plowed the field, and got a couple of touchdowns, and we're up 21-7 until Capital got a late score. Both of those scores by their huge fullback, Kalai Clark, 6'1", 300, the senior, 4 for 11 yards, 2 touchdowns in that game. So he's a guy they really like down there close, kind of like Bryce Damus has become for the Highlanders. But it's also a series where, there's a little bit of animosity, I think, in this series. And one of the things that kind of sticks in Huntington's craw is Billy Seals, the head coach at Huntington's, in his 10th year. And in that time, this will be the 10th time he's played Capital, but it will be the 7th time that they played at Lately Field. And for the series to be 3-6 in the Cougars' favor, kind of let you know what about playing at home versus playing away has meant to this series. Huntington got a very hard-fought 24-21 win last year up on the hilltop. So back at Lately Field tonight, and, it's dressed up well because University of Charleston's been playing a lot of Thursday night games here, as a matter of fact. They've had some TV there in Division II for the Mountain East Conference, and they got new turf down, so that looks very nice. It is homecoming tonight. That's what Capital put into this game. They decided to go with this game over. Could have done Hurricane, would have been a little early, but they also could have done it Cabell Midland, a game they did win 20-7. And then the problem is, though, their last home game is all the way November 2nd against GW. And quite frankly, Paul, if they'd win this game, they could lock up maybe one of those top 4 spots, because after that, they've got to go to number 19 Beckley, who's 2-4. They've got to go to Riverside, who I believe is 21 or 22 in the rankings right now. They're 1-5. And then GW is the final home game on senior night, and they're struggling a little bit. They're 3-4. So this is the last tough game, really good team that the Cougars are going to face. And Huntington is just the flip side. They're at Capital, and then the battle for the Shield. You can throw out the records when they play Cabell Midland. That's coming up next Friday night. Parkersburg has gotten so much better this year. They're up to number 11 in the rankings. They're 4-3, and it was a close battle, 35-22 here. Capital got the win at Parkersburg. Huntington, unfortunately, has them at home, and then they finish up at number 1, Spring Valley. And you kind of think Spring Valley will probably be number 1. I believe they're open this weekend. And in 2 weeks, they play Point Pleasant, and that'll be their second AA team, which might knock them out of number 1, might allow Martinsburg to take that spot over. Huntington, of course, is up there at number 3, but they are also tied, I believe, with Musselman or somebody like that. So it's a very tight, very good teams at the top here. The problem, of course, and you and I have talked about this many times on this show, is with only 29 teams in, half of AAA is guaranteed a spot. 4 and 6 did the trick last year. And I hate that, because over in AA, because there's 40 or more teams there, they had 7-3 or 6-4 teams that just didn't get into playoffs. So, maybe there's somewhere else that line needs to be drawn. But Huntington is tied with Musselman at number 3. They're both 6-0. Martinsburg 7-0. They're at number 2. And, of course, then Capital, Wheeling Park, Ripley, and Parkersburg South make out the top 8 that would get home games. Right now, GW is just in front of Morgantown for that coveted 16th spot, so they don't have to go very far. Cabell Midland right now and University are tied to who gets to go to Martinsburg. But I think these are going to change depending on how these next games come out. So it's a huge game tonight. I don't think we have to overhype it. It was the lead story today in the HD, and certainly Rick Ryan wrote about it in both papers today. So I'm looking for a great game, and I think it'll be close. And it'll probably come down to can Huntington's line going against a line that matches them in size for the first time this year. Can they dominate the front line like Spring Valley did and get a win, keep the ball away from this very, very talented Capital team?
You can listen to the game right here, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930, and we'll also stream it for you. You can listen to the radio station by going to our website, WRVC.com. You can also listen to us on the TuneIn app, and we've got our own app as well. You can get the link, again, at WRVC.com, so you can stream it on your iPhone or your Android device. Anywhere you go, you can take Woody Woodrum with you come 7:30 tonight for kickoff, or 7:32, whenever they're going to kick off.
As Brett Musburger say, we are looking at Laidley Field high atop University of Charleston Stadium, and we're up here on the roof tonight. It's pretty nice, although it's supposed to slide down into the 50s by game time, and probably, maybe by the end of the game it'll start heading toward those 40s. We're supposed to get overnight. Rain's supposed to stay away until after about 11 o'clock here in Charleston. Might get to Huntington a little bit earlier than that, so should have a nice night. They've got a lot of things going on tonight, with alumni are here. They've got alumni will be performing. They've got tribute to Mr. Clint Denon here at the school. The family's going to be here tonight. The Golden Knights, the Army parachuters, are going to jump at 7:07, Paul, so that's always fun to see. 89 teams going to come here and rush the field along with the 2018 team. So it's a big deal, obviously, and that's, you can tell because they've really gone all out on homecoming. The parade starts in about 14 minutes, so it's a fun evening. You worry, as a coach, you worry about being distracted, but they have had 2 weeks to get ready. And personally, I didn't mention this with Billy Seals. You'll hear me and Billy in the pregame here in a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little wildcat out of these guys tonight, because certainly Hurricane used that with their outstanding back Hill. He only ended up with 29 carries for like 19 yards, but the bulk of those yards came in a wildcat, and it took Huntington a little while to get it blocked. The other thing that Billy spent a lot of time on this week, kick returns, as 2 were returned, 99-yarder and a 73-yarder. And Billy looked at me and goes, I really can't believe that Isaiah Carpenter kicked it towards number 1 for Hurricane because he was the guy that went 99 yards. And he, sure enough, took one at 27, went 73 yards. So they're working on their kickoff coverage during this week and trying to get that right. But they're fairly healthy. Will Coxon is still probably going to be out to at least the Spring Valley game. He's getting rehab and everything, but I think, they've gotten a great job out of Malik Johnson and Diallo Mitchell. Have both ran the ball very well. So far, they're both over 350 yards rushing, and they've got 3 touchdowns combined. Wilcoxon was having such a good year. He's still number 4 in the MSAC in rushing, and he's still like 8th or 9th in scoring because he'd already put up a lot of points on the season. He had 7 touchdowns on the ground, and he's one of the top players. It's a shame he got hurt because he was even elected the homecoming king. Let me say it again, homecoming king last week, and that's pretty big deal for a kid that didn't come to Huntington until August, and by mid-October the student body likes him enough to make him the king of homecoming.
Nothing wrong with that, just being the new kid, getting the crown. It's okay.
Yeah, we made a point of it last week, and I know you were working a Marshall game, but I think Jill Cunningham was the queen, and she's a very good soccer player. And I think maybe the student athletes at Huntington have figured out what Marshall student athletes figured out about 20 years ago. When they go vote, they've got 300 or 400 people that can go vote for them for homecoming and things like that, student elections. They can kind of be the people that make the choices for the student body because there's so many of them if they get out and vote. And it looks like, everybody liked the football player and the soccer player for the king and queen, and that was a nice touch. I mean, Wilcoxon, you could tell he's very surprised. He was on his little cart with his knee. He's not allowed to walk on it, so he's got a little scooter. He puts his leg that's hurt on, and he had the scooter out there and get the big crown on.
Woody Woodrum, our guest tonight. It is number 3 Huntington at 6-0, taking on number 5 Capital at 5-1. Pregame is coming up. 7 o'clock will be our airtime for the broadcast. Again, you can listen to it live on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Also, WRVC.com. We've got our streaming app, and of course, you can stream us live on the website as well. I think we've got everything. Did we miss anything?
I don't think anything for this game. There's some really games that could get ugly. I think St. Albans and Spring Valley could just be they might be on the clock as early as halftime because I think that's going to be a runaway. St. Albans is struggling to get back to where they're at. The Herald-Dispatch had them outscored so far 275-13 by AAA opponents. Cabell Midland has an important game against Woodrow Wilson, and they're 3-4 win over the Flying Eagles, who do have Micah Hancock, very good athlete. And but if Midland can get to 4-4, they certainly have a chance if they could upset Huntington next week at home, take the Shield to get in the playoffs. Colgrove at Ironton might be the championship of the OVC across the river. And Fairlawn and Portsmouth should be an entertaining game. So, in Kentucky, Ashland's 8-0. They're playing at Greenup's 5-3. I know those two get after each other pretty good. So it should be a really great night of high school football tonight, and then a big day of college football tomorrow, including, I believe, the Marshall Thundering Herd and Old Dominion.
Yes, that is the game. You're correct, sir. You are correct.
Did you happen to see on the computer today when Marshall arrived to unpack the truck? There was no lights in the locker room because Michael's hurricane had knocked out power to nearly half a million. Yeah, 500,000 people in Virginia were without power. Of course, a lot in Georgia, some in North Carolina too. But they had to put up the big construction lights in the locker room to get things done. I was hoping maybe they had their miners' helmets with them. They should probably pack those, just in case.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I used to pack all kinds of things. Yeah.
You still do. What are you talking about? Used to? You still do.
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean, you're the only man I know who shows up for a ball game like 15 cases in tow, and I'm like, Woody, you're just doing a radio broadcast. But I might need that fifth extension cord. I might need that.
Trey Woodrum and Brandon Drakes, who were part of Team Woodrum tonight, made that perilous climb up to Ladley's top, and we saw our good buddy Doug keeping things cool here tonight. So it's always a big deal when these two teams play. And Paul,
yes, sir.
I know you like, being an old Pony Express guy. You know about the C&O bell.
Yes, sir.
Went between Charleston High and Huntington High.
That's up today.
That's been resurrected. Yeah, and it's a great big bell, like off of a train. It's a really nice bell.
It's a bell that they should look at between Marshall and Ohio as an example of what a bell should look like.
I didn't even think of that. What a great idea.
I did. That's a bell they should look at. And with that, we've got commercial, so we'll talk to you later. That is Woody Woodrum. Paul. He is going to join us later on for Huntington High and Capital tonight right here, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. When we come back from break, apologies to Jason Toy when we continue with this edition of The Drive.
Buckle up. Paul Swann has the wheel on The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Friday edition, The Drive, presented by Beltone Hearing Air Center on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Apologies to Jason Toy. We ran out of time. He's become the new Matt Damon of the program. Hey, sincerely, we try to get him on. Every time we try to get him on, something happens. Matt Perry wants to talk rugby. All right, I'm going to indulge that a little bit. Woody Woodrum, he hasn't talked to anybody in a week since we keep him in a closet. We bring him out just for high school games these days. We tried. So apologies to Jason Toy. We've run out of time. That's going to do it for this edition of The Drive. I want to thank our producer, Gabriel Sellards. I'm Paul Swann. Back at it tomorrow. Beltone Hearing Aid Center College Football Today. Going to be live at Roosters, Pullman Square. It's going to be Marshall and Old Dominion. We go on the air 12:30. Yeah, I'm getting wings at 12:30 in the afternoon because it's going to be past noon. That means it's past breakfast. You know what? I would eat Roosters wings for breakfast too. But 12:30, the show goes on the air, and I'm having some Rooster wings. And that's going to do it for this edition. Back tomorrow for the pregame, Marshall taking on Old Dominion. Thanks for listening. High school football coming up later on this evening right here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Huntington Sports Station.